Before the Crown, early 1990s. Atlanta was never supposed to lead hip-hop. For decades, the culture looked north to New York, west to Los Angeles. But the South was overlooked, misunderstood, dismissed. Yet beneath the surface, Atlanta was building something different. Not just a sound, but a system. This is not just a story about music. It's a story about power, ambition, survival, and what happens when a city becomes too influential for its own protection. This is the rise, the fall, and the redemption of the Atlanta rap scene. Before the Crown, early 1990s. Before the fame, before the money, before the myth. Atlanta rap existed in the shadows. In the early 1990s, hip-hop's gatekeepers didn't believe the South belonged in the conversation. Southern accents were mocked. Southern stories were ignored. But Atlanta wasn't trying to sound like anyone else. Groups like Arrested Development and OutKast weren't chasing radio hits. They were building identity. Their music spoke of Black Southern life, its beauty, its pain, its contradictions. Then in 1995, everything changed when OutKast stood on a Grammy stage and declared, "The South got something to say." It wasn't arrogance, it was prophecy. Atlanta ascends, late 90s to mid 2000s. Atlanta didn't slowly rise, it took over. The city became a rare thing in hip-hop, a place where creativity and infrastructure met. Labels like LaFace Records and So Def turned Atlanta into a hit-making machine. Artists weren't just signing deals, they were building empires. OutKast pushed artistic boundaries. Goody Mob brought social commentary. Jermaine Dupri turned local talent into global stars. And then Atlanta did something no other city had done before. It turned the strip club into a cultural institution. If a song moved dancers, it moved the city. If it moved the city, it moved the nation. Atlanta wasn't following hip-hop anymore. Hip-hop was following Atlanta. The birth of trap, mid-2000s, early 2010s. Trap music wasn't designed for mass appeal. It was testimony. Atlanta rappers didn't invent the trap, they documented it. T.I. spoke like a strategist. Jeezy sounded like motivation wrapped in realism. Gucci Mane embodied chaos, truth, and raw survival. Their music reflected Atlanta's streets with unfiltered honesty. The sound spread. The 808s crossed borders. Trap became pop. Atlanta became the blueprint. But dominance comes at a cost. And the higher Atlanta climbed, the more pressure it attracted. Cracks in the empire. 2012 to 2018. Success magnified everything. Street conflicts became industry conflicts. Personal beef became public spectacle. Social media turned every disagreement into a headline. Every mistake became permanent. Labels oversaturated the market. Artists chased momentum instead of mastery. Longevity took a back seat to virality. Atlanta was still winning, but it was losing control. And the streets were never far from the music. RICO, Tragedy, and Silence, 2019 to 2023. Then came the reckoning. Federal indictments, RICO cases. Entire labels under investigation. Artists weren't just rappers anymore, they were evidence. Careers were frozen. Movements were dismantled. The line between art and prosecution disappeared. Then came the losses. The death of Takeoff shook the city, not because fame was unfamiliar to Atlanta, but because loss was becoming routine. For the first time, the industry asked the hard question: had Atlanta's power made it a target? Redemption and the next era. Atlanta's future won't look like its past. The city is no longer just a rap hub. It's a cultural command center. Music, film, fashion, technology. Atlanta learned a painful lesson. When the culture forgets discipline, power becomes dangerous. When the culture remembers its roots, it becomes unstoppable. Atlanta has fallen before, and every time it rebuilt stronger. Ignored, dominant, targeted, evolving. The South didn't just speak, it changed the language. And as long as Atlanta remembers who it is, its story is far from over.